To please rise for the national anthem.
जन गण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता। पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा। विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्छल जलधि तरंगा। तब शुभ नामे जागे तब शुभ आशीष मांगे। गाहे तब जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता। जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे।
Thank you, everyone. A very good evening to the honorable dignitaries on the dais and the entire gathering. On behalf of Delhi Technological University, I extend a warm welcome to the distinguished dignitaries of the day, Lieutenant General M.U. Nair, Distinguished Speaker of the Day, Commodore Dr. R.K. Rana, Veteran Indian Navy, Professor Indu, Dean Digital Education, Professor Girish Kumar, Dean Research and Development, DTU, Colonel Pushpinder Meyer. As we all know, all deans and heads present here, faculty members, staff, students, and members of the organizing team, I extend a warm welcome to you all. As we all know, DTU's Distinguished Speaker Series is an initiative to invite distinguished speakers who are renowned academicians, researchers, scientists, industrialists, leaders, policymakers, administrators, thought influencers, and social transformers in the fields of their expertise. DTU invites these distinguished speakers from around the globe to enrich the academic ecosystem of the university. To initiate today's session, I would request our honorable dignitaries on dais to light the symbolic lamp of knowledge and wisdom to seek the blessings of Goddess Saraswati.
हाँ मैं पीछे कर देता हूँ।
We would now like to extend a floral welcome to the distinguished speaker of the day. I request Professor Indu to please welcome Lieutenant General Nair with a sapling. I also request Professor Indu to please welcome Commodore Dr. R.K. Rana with the sapling. Thank you, ma'am. I request Professor Indu to please deliver the welcome address.
Good afternoon to all. Honorable Lieutenant General M. Unikishan Nair, National Cyber Security Coordinator. Professor Pradeep Sharma, Honorable Vice Chancellor in his absentia. Commodore Dr. R.K. Rana, Professor Girish Kumar, and Colonel Nair, and all distinguished faculty members present here. I welcome you all to the 4th Distinguished Speaker Series of DTU this year. Vice Chancellor had started this with an intention that, see, even if we go through lots and lots of papers, we may not be able to get the insights of the people who has reached the heights. So by attending a lecture for an hour, we will be able to gain a lot of information without any difficulty. So this was the intention of organizing this speech, and previous all lectures were well taken, and many question answer many questions were being asked, and it has gone really well. So I think this lecture also will go really well, and we are very lucky to have Lieutenant General M. Unikishan Nair. He is actually National Cyber Security Coordinator. So at this moment of time, everybody has problems with threat is there everywhere. Every day we are getting information over a phone or mail that please be aware of the threats which we are having. And so many challenges are there. Of course, we have the digital era has made everything beautiful, doing fast everything, but a threat is also along with that. So he will be talking about those challenges. I think we are all lucky to have here. Welcome you, sir. And there is, we have got Commodore Dr. R.K. Rana. He was actually, I should say thank you to him, because he is the one who connected us. Because it will be really difficult to get such people, get connected, and getting their time is really difficult. Thank you for making this possible. And we have Professor Girish Kumar and Colonel Nair, all are supporting for this event, and I welcome all the faculty members present here and the students for this event. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. It's my honor to introduce you all to Commodore Dr. R.K. Rana. Commodore Dr. Rana was commissioned in the Indian Navy on 1st of August 1979, an alumnus of Delhi College of Engineering, 1980 Mechanical Engineering batch. He completed his post-graduation from Royal Naval Engineering College, UK, and thereafter pursued his PhD degree that was awarded by IIT Madras in July 1996. Commodore has served in a variety of organizations in the Navy, encompassing training, research, dockyard, staff, design of warships, indigenous product development, and onboard ships during long and illustrious career spanning more than 33 years. Commodore Dr. Rana, a distinguished naval officer, was instrumental in designing aircraft carriers and corvettes, all successfully sailing today. As Principal Director at the Ministry of Defense, Navy, he led India's indigenous development program, fostering collaboration across government industry, R&D, and academia. A decorated expert in marine engineering, he has contributed to naval training, gas turbine marinization, and the design audit of diesel engines for DRDO's futuristic armored vehicles. He is presently holding 2 honorary positions, one at Indian Institute of Technology and other at Delhi Technological University's Innovation and Incubation Foundation, where he is helping the faculty and startup community in connecting with the military and vice versa. Dr. Rana has more than 70 technical publications on various marine engineering and other associated subjects to his credit, and has been invited as patron and session chairman during international naval engineering conferences, World Maritime Technology Conference Engine as a weapon symposium since 2004. He is a member of the American Society of Naval Engineers, USA, fellow of the Institute of Marine Engineering, Science and Technology, UK, and has been granted a status of Chartered Engineer by the Engineering Council, UK. It's really our honor to have such a renowned person with us today. I request Commodore Dr. Rana to kindly address the audience and also introduce the distinguished speaker of the day. Please.
Thank you very much for introduction, Professor Gupta. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I really feel honored to introduce our distinguished speakers. I didn't want to take away your excitement to hear General Nair, so I will not speak. I'll speak on some other occasion, but I want to have the pleasure of introducing him as one of our distinguished speakers. Lieutenant General Nair, he's a Param Vishish Seva Medal, Ati Vishish Seva Medal, and Sena Medal today at Delhi Technological University, who has dedicated his life to the military environment since his childhood, having studied in Sainik School, Trivandrum, and then at National Defense Academy prior to getting commissioned on 1st of January 1984 in the Corps of Signals of the Indian Army. He has held several key appointments at all levels of military hierarchy in operational logistics and technical command and staff assignment. He is a scholar warrior, whom you will just hear, who used technology to deriving operational benefits in key areas of intelligence gathering and information systems. He also was instrumental in steering several key projects on artificial intelligence, quantum technology, cryptology, and cyber operations while serving in the armed forces. General Nair is an experienced cybersecurity mentor who has tenanted the appointment of National Cybersecurity Coordinator in the National Security Council Secretariat, Government of India, with effect from 1st July 2023, while he was still serving in the Army. In this capacity, he is responsible for coordinating all activities across multiple sectors to ensure secure and resilient cyberspace in the country. He was a signals officer in charge in the Indian Army when he took up the assignment of the National Cybersecurity as a National Cybersecurity Coordinator with effect from 1st July 2023, as I mentioned earlier. He retired from the Indian Army on 31st May 2024. I also wanted to take this opportunity to thank him for accepting my request to address my alma mater, Delhi Technological University, now formerly Delhi College of Engineering. I am looking up to him to leverage on the strengths of the faculty, students, and the startup in the cyber domain space at Delhi Technological University. Over to you, General Nair. Thank you.
The Dean, faculty members, the students of the Delhi Technical University. It's my pleasure, singular pleasure actually, to be here speaking to you on a subject which I am passionate about. Now you must be wondering why a military man should speak on a technology domain to a technical audience like you. You're all, technology intensive, we are all carrying out technology intensive activities. one of the reasons why I keep speaking to audiences like you is that I never got an opportunity to be part of a university like yours. I never saw a civil university in my life. So I make it a point that I go and speak at universities like this, interact with students, startups, young entrepreneurs. So that's the way I keep my life going. And I'll give you a small background on how I got into the army, what all did I do in the army in terms of technology, and then I will come on to the domain in which I operate. I think I studied in a Sainik school. That's because my father, he was actually passionate to join the army, and he couldn't join in 1956. Somehow he couldn't join the army at that point of time. 1956. He was a physics scholar, a postgraduate in physics at that point of time. He started his life as a lecturer in a college in Kerala. I belong to Kerala, I'm sure from my name, I'm sure you all could understand that I come from Trivandrum. He then migrated to Bihar. That point of time, there's an institution called the Indian School of Mines. I think today it's an IIT. So he was a lecturer there, but then there was an opening in a Sainik school. So he got back to Kerala because he felt that he had to be connected with the armed forces. So he was a school teacher for 30 years from 62 to 92, and he groomed more than 1,000 officers who are now forming part of the armed forces. He's also retired. So his life revolved around the armed forces, the uniformed community, because he couldn't become a member of that community. So I have an elder sister who's married to a naval officer. I have a younger brother who's also a naval officer. So all of them have retired now, but that's a passion with which he brought us up. And I always wanted to become a doctor. So despite that, since his pressure, and that is the time when we all used to listen to our parents, I'm not sure, these days the generations are independent in their viewpoints for a career option, etc. So that's how I joined the National Defense Academy and then joined the Corps of Signals, about which I had no knowledge, and I wanted to join the infantry like many of my classmates, course mates, etc. But then I joined up the Corps of Signals, which I felt was one of the decisions which the senior hierarchy took at that point of time. So it's been a wonderful journey. I served in the army for 40 years. And it's been a wonderful innings which I had. I retired only last year. And let me tell each one of you here that I had an opportunity to go across each and every point of the country, right from the northernmost borders. And if I ask you somewhere, which is the southernmost portion of the country? Can somebody tell me? Which is the southernmost portion of the country? Okay, it's a point called the Indira Point. I think somebody here mentioned. Okay, it's called the Indira Point. It's in the South Andamans. If you actually Google it today, you'll find that it is a point where there's a statue of our former Prime Minister. Unfortunately, it came under the tsunami of 2006, and that area got ravaged at that point of time. So I had been there. That's about 150 miles from the Malacca Straits or Singapore, about which I'm sure all of you are familiar with. There's a place called Kibuttu, which is where the easternmost portion of our country. And there's another point called Gurez. If you look at Gurez, it's one of the most beautiful valleys we have in our country, which is one of the northernmost points in the Jammu and Kashmir. The westernmost point is a place called Lakpat. If you again Google, you'll find that it's on the Bhuj area, further to the east, further to the west of our country. So I could actually travel all over. In fact, I've traveled all along the international border, the LAC, LC, all of you, some of these terms which you may not be familiar with. Now, I got commissioned in 1984, as Commodore Rana had mentioned. And one of the first challenges which came in my area, opportunities which came across me was, I'm sure all of you are familiar with Yagi antenna. I'm sure the electronics and communication engineering, some of you would be familiar with it. So those were the days when we used to get reception, when we used to be terrestrial transmission of Doordarshan. That time only Doordarshan was there. And in 1985, we had an event called the Champions Trophy, which was held very recently, which India won. If you Google, you'll again find that 1985, in the month of March, we had a challenge when we were playing Pakistan in Melbourne. So I was sitting very close to the Chinese border in a place which today, I'm sure, again, you can find it on the Google, it's called Zuluk. And we wanted to watch the match live on television. Those days, there was no broadcasting stations. I'm sure you're all familiar with terrestrial broadcast, which was based on a tower which was there. And in a place like Zuluk, there was no way we could actually get this television signal. We had a large number of troops who were all wanting, very keen to watch this indoor park final of the Champions Trophy. And the only way we could actually do it was have a Yagi antenna erected, put across, increase the height in mountains, and then, get connected to one of the Doordarshan transmitters. At that point of time, the closest Doordarshan transmitter was in Calcutta. And, we were about 700 kilometers from that particular place. And to our surprise, we found that we could pick up some transmissions, and we were able to watch that match sitting in the remote locations with our Yagi antenna pointing towards the Chinese side. Because, in mountains, there is a strange phenomena of multiple reflections which happen. And we are picking up a signal from Dhaka at that point of time. Now, why I'm narrating is this, this is the way the technology today actually, facilitates you. I'm sure many of you as children won't understand what is a terrestrial transmission of, TV broadcasters. Many of you wouldn't have seen a Yagi antenna also other than in laboratories today. So this is the kind of challenges we as youngsters used to face. Communication from point A to point B, let's say from Delhi to Jammu or to Srinagar, was on wired media, and we had physical lines, one pair of lines for communication. And this is the way we were actually at that point of time. Our forward areas, communication was either on radio, where we had radio sets which were providing you radio communication, or we are on those physical lines which were laid from point A to point B. And we also had the power lines which were going along those these physical lines which were there. I'm sure many of you would know that if you have a communication line going alongside a high tension wire or a low tension wire, there is a phenomena called induction which takes place. So most of our lines were having so much of power induction that we just couldn't succeed in making people speak to each other. We had a large number of research teams which came up to solve these puzzles, including the DRDO, but this was something which we couldn't actually solve at that point of time. I'm talking about 1985 to 1990s. I faced a similar situation later in my life, in the mid-90s too, when we still were dependent on these physical lines for our communication. So this was the yesteryears, my formative years in the armed forces. There's also another phenomenon called lightning. I'm sure you all are familiar with it. Now, have you ever seen lightning destroying hundreds of kilometers of cables, equipment, etc.? It happens in our forward areas where, we lay cables, including optical fiber today, from point A to point B all over for optical connectivity. Now, when a lightning strikes on any portion, you find that kilometers of optical fiber gets destroyed. Now, is there a solution to this particular challenge? So we had lightning and power protection systems which were employed where we could actually detect, we had sensors deployed where we could capture lightning and make sure that it's grounded so that the equipment and the systems are protected. Also human lives. We've seen cases where human lives were impacted by lightning. I'm sure even if you look at our country today, even today, we lose a large number of lives based on due to lightning. Now, these are the kind of challenges I faced as a young officer in the Indian Army. So we grew up in service, and suddenly, this particular issue of lightning, this was one of the challenges which I took up on as a project with one of the IITs in Northeast, where we said that, okay, do you have the capability to detect lightning before it occurs? That means, can you shut down our electrical systems when atmospheric conditions become conducive to lightning? Now, it was a project which we had actually formulated, and to our surprise, we could actually have the end results of it in about 2008-2009 time frame. There are other challenges which we faced. Some of it, I've just listed out some of the challenges here. Heavy snow and heavy snow conditions. So we've seen heavy snow conditions in which the optical fiber used to actually crack. It just used to become powder because of snow. Now, this was a kind of threats from the environment which we had, and we were not talking about any adversarial threats there. I'm sure you all are aware of the conflicts which are going on in many parts of the world today. Look at Russia, Ukraine, look at Israel. There's a lot of conflicts which are there. And we always you would have heard on social media that many of these conflicts have an impact on population like ours, a community of ours, where we get impacted through social media breakdowns, cyber attacks, energy attacks, etc., etc. Now, there are also challenges to our armed forces when conflict situation emerges, and conflicts in any part of the globe today have an impact on any other country and other countries too. But to say that situation similar to Russia, Ukraine can occur in our country, I think we need to look at it a little differently here. Now, I'm sure many of you would been to our forward areas, the high altitude areas, where our troops, many of our population centers, I'm sure many of you would have gone to Badrinath, to Mana, which is supposed to be the northernmost village on that particular axis. Many of you would have gone to the Kargil or to Leh areas. Now, see the heights of the mountains there. They all range from 15,000 feet to 20,000 feet. Now, the highest feature in Ukraine is just about 2,061 meters, which translates to onto about less than 7,000 feet. Now, imagine the situation which we have in our country vis-a-vis a country like Ukraine and Russia. So, for a communicator like me, or for all of you here, you're all part of technology domain. See the challenges which our armed forces face in these domains where there is absolutely no line of sight. Now, communication on radiating media can only be possible when you have line of sight if you're using terrestrial media, or you have terrestrial cables which have been laid, optical fibers. Now, optical fibers in mountains are a challenge. So this is what we used to face as communicators, and this was some things which we could actually solve. We used to have satellite communication as backup. We have radiating media, we had anchor stations which are put on hilltops, etc., etc. So these are some of the technology challenges we as military people used to face, and some of these which we could actually solve. Coming on to a little later in service, I commanded a large army, of technology personnels from the Corps of Signals. Now, we wanted to have secure communications for the armed forces on using the public networks. Now, I'm sure all of you are carrying mobile phones. Is your communication, what you speak from point A to point B, or when you speak from person A to person B, is it secure? You might say that, okay, normal voice calls may not be secure, but when you use encrypted communication like WhatsApp, it will have secure communication. Now, it may not be guaranteed. Now, understand that, there are challenges in this ecosystem where encrypted communication is a fallacy. So, we wanted to have indigenous, Indian-made, secure communication device. This was a challenge we took up, and to our advantage, we realized that we had the potential within our country, and we got an indigenous secure mobile, which I'm sure if you Google, you'll find that the Army today operates more than 35,000 sets of a device called Sambhav, which is a secure mobile device which rides on Airtel or Jio, that's our public service providers, and it's actually used in all parts of our country. Now, I just wanted to put it across that today you find multiple challenges. The armed forces face a lot of challenges, and technology today gives you solutions for many of these challenges. I met some young boys and girls who are actually providing some solutions through startups. Now, this is the kind of environment we are looking for, where you youngsters here can find solutions to many of the challenges which we face, and actually it's a dream world where there are so many solutions possible. And I feel that all of you need to be part of this ecosystem, and we are there to support you. Coming on to the domain which I handle today. Now, can somebody tell me how many telephones are there in the country today? Can somebody give me a rough estimate? How many mobile phones are there in the country today? Any rough estimate? Okay. There are 1.3 billion smartphones today, or phones today, mobile phones today. This is the kind of environment which we have, 1.3 billion. And what's our population? 1.45 billion? Near about that. So if this is the kind of ecosystem which we have, and we also have about 55 million machine-to-machine devices. We have innumerable IoT devices which are there as part of our cyber ecosystem. In addition, I'm sure all of you are having smartphones. How many apps do you have in your smartphone today? Do you know the number of apps which are there? 100, 300? So you look at the quantum of apps which we have, which each of these smartphones today carry. We have 1.3 billion devices. We have plethora of applications. Okay. Now, what does these applications actually take from you? It takes data. It can be in any form. Where are the data stored today? It's on a cloud. It can be on data centers. It can be within the country. It can be out of the country. So when you actually download an app, do you look at where the data is going today? So as users, we are completely oblivious of the fact today that we don't know what app we have, what have we downloaded, where is the data going, where is it stored, how is it being used. Okay, there are large number of measures which the government has taken through DPDP Act, etc., etc. But as users, are you aware of it yourself? Okay, so I only looked at the device ecosystem. Now look at the magnitude when you have commercial institutions. All of you are aware of UPI. I'm sure all of you carry out UPI transactions today. Now I was just having a small interaction with your faculty, some of your faculty members. Can you imagine, can you just give me a ballpark figure of how much of transactions by volume, that is, amount of money which is transacted through UPI every day? Can somebody give me a ballpark figure? It's about 90,000 crores per day is the volume, is the amount of money which we transact every day. And about 600 million is the transactions are carried out every day by NPCI. Now you look at the challenges which are there. If 90,000 crores, which actually translates onto about, I think, roughly about $9 billion US every day. And this is a quantum of money which we transact. So I mentioned about devices, I mentioned about apps, I mentioned about storage, I mentioned about the value of transactions which we carry out only on one application today. And this is the cyberspace which we are actually today having in our country. And this is only 10% of the challenge. So my job as the National Cybersecurity Coordinator is to make sure that you don't come under any threat from any state or non-state actors outside. Now, many of these threats, I'm sure you see every day if you open the paper, you'll find some sort of cyber crime impacting on citizens. Now, are we as citizens responsible to the devices which we have? Okay, is anyone here aware of the Android version which you have in your mobile phone today? I'm sure the youngsters are. Android 14, 15, 16, what is the version of Android which you have? 14? Okay. Does Android support all versions, previous versions of Android today? So if you Google again, you will find that Android 12 and beyond, the earlier versions are not supported today. So there is a secured, there is a mobile device with each one of you as citizen. You have an Android operating system which is not supported by the device provider, and we expect that we are protected. How can it happen? So that's where, as citizens, we have certain responsibilities for ensuring a minimum cyber hygiene amongst ourselves. Today in the morning, I saw there's a colonel who's been duped of some 3.2 crores through digital arrest. I'm sure you also, some of you would have read this. It's there in the media headlines today. We had the Honorable Prime Minister mentioning about digital arrest in one of his weekly talks. Now, as citizens, I think we need to be aware of this, that when you have a large ecosystem like this, there will be challenges. So I request all the youngsters today that you need to make sure that if amongst your family members, especially the senior citizens, you need to send this message across that these devices are vulnerable. So there will be challenges which you will face. And you have to be very cautious. And when I speak on a mobile phone or when I do some activity on a laptop today, I take it that there is somebody else observing it. That's the premise with which I operate today. So because there is nothing called perfect cyber security. So if I'm there to coordinate this, you can imagine the challenge in the system. I mentioned again to the faculty members that today, national security is a sum total of multiple elements of power which we have. It could be financial security, it could be that economic security, it could be the executive, it could be the judiciary, it could be the health sector post the COVID, etc. It could be the science and technology threshold which we have as a country. All of this today are connected through the cyber domain. And that's where I felt, all of us should understand that cybersecurity is an integral part of our national security today. And any small breach, it could be on your personal device, it could be on your Wi-Fi router at home, it can have an impact on a large population. So the challenge is enormous, but there are technology solutions to all this. Now, how do you solve such challenges? So that's why I keep speaking to youngsters like you, that when you take up research projects, when you are doing your internship, when you are doing your PhD or MTech projects, please look at cybersecurity as a domain where it's full of opportunities today, be it financial sector, be it any sector for that matter. There are challenges, and that's where you could actually focus on. As a career option, it's a blooming career which is going to be ahead of you, because cybersecurity professionals today are required in any sector which you look at. I mentioned about ports. Now you look at, I'm sure some of you would have seen videos of containers coming in our ports today. Now imagine what happens if an ecosystem of a port, a digital ecosystem of a port is impacted upon, where a container movement can either be slowed, it can be made faster, or it can even collapse. Now what happens to that particular port? And today, all the cranes, all the devices which are there are all connected devices. So the world of cyber today is full of opportunities, and I would request each one of you to look at it as an option. I'm not trying to canvass this particular, it's just out of sheer passion that I'm telling you this. It's full of opportunities. Look at emerging domains, artificial intelligence. Now, there is a field of thought which says that artificial intelligence will probably replace many of these professionals which are there. I think it's a fallacy, because it has to be, AI can give you, solutions, but it also can generate biases which are there. So it has to be a human mind which actually looks at the entirety and then, takes a decision. So we also have, predictive analysis in our armed forces. We looked at, multiple options. So the options are thrown by a tool, but who takes a decision? It is the commander who's there on ground who takes a decision. That's why the human interface will always be will be there, despite the fact that we have artificial intelligence, etc. coming in. Now coming on to a new domain called the quantum. I'm sure all of you are aware. I spoke to some of the faculty members also. Now what happens when quantum computers come in? Now it solves small challenges much faster. Bigger challenges even faster, probably. So what you have as encryptions today, many of it, I'm sure when you actually carry out a data transmission, when you do a normal routine chat, it's encrypted. Now it's encrypted through some algorithm. These algorithms get impacted or can get impacted when you have a quantum computer coming in. So the current set of algorithms are likely to face threats when we have a quantum computer coming in. So we need to have post-quantum encryption or encryption which is quantum safe. So that's one of the fields which is open for research today, and that's where I think as children, as students in a technical university, you could probably focus on. So I just drew your attention to two such opportunities. Electromagnetic spectrum. I'm sure as technology experts, you know what a spectrum is all about. So, can you manipulate spectrum today? Yes, electronic warfare, I'm sure many of you would have read about, you can actually block, you can, spoof, you can do multiple, activities on the electromagnetic spectrum. So, can you make sure that spectrum usage is always protected? How do you do it? Can you have, can you make sure that you are not detected, the usage of, you have secure channels which are used? Now, these are some of the challenges which we are struggling with right now. Okay. Blockchain. Okay. This is another area where we are carrying out a lot of research, where blockchain actually offers you solutions to make sure that the way you communicate is safe. I'm sure many of you, especially the younger lot of people here, have cryptocurrencies, which are, cryptocurrencies use a blockchain for its transmission. And that's where, there's a major challenge that it's very difficult to break into the crypto chain. So that's some of the measures which we are looking at for making sure that some of the challenges we face in our ecosystem is protected. Proliferation of technology will always be there. We'll have 5G coming up, it's already there. 6G will come up very shortly. So the data speeds will become much higher. There will be very little latency. Your services will become much faster. But there will be challenges which new technology brings in. And these challenges need to be addressed by people like you here. And that's where, again, I look towards each one of you, that when you actually look at projects, please look at these type of projects which can actually assist all of us for our future. There will always be policy challenges, regulatory framework challenges, etc. Like privacy is one of the issues. When technology becomes intrusive, I'm sure all of you are part of multiple social media platforms. So you are actually compromising on your own privacy at certain points of time. Now, if you are compromising it yourself willingly, then you will have problems when you come onto a larger ecosystem. So these are some of the things which you need to understand as part of the cyber domain. Okay. Opportunities for young children, all of you here. Cyber analysts, we are looking at a large number of cyber analysts in multiple industry today. The vulnerability assessment testers, the secure coders, security engineers, security mechanics, they're all, the world of opportunities galore on the cyber domain. So this is one area where you could actually focus as a career option, and I think it will never dry down, because our digital connect is only going to increase and in future. And our life is going to completely transform into a digital ecosystem. It's already there. I don't think very few of you would have gone to a bank. All our banking transactions we do online today. Most of our life revolves around our smartphone, and it's actually become a digital tool. And in fact, I go to the extent of saying that it actually gives you a digital identity today. If that's the way the world is going to be, it's full of opportunities for technology-oriented people like you. So I would look at you as one of the problem solvers for the future, and also look at you for making sure that our country progresses in this domain by bringing in new technology. That's where you should actually look at. And since I'm an army man, there are young boys and girls here. Armed forces offer you a lot of career options. It's one of the places where you could look at. And I had the privilege of interacting with a large number of them. And yesteryears, probably, when we joined the armed forces, the technology, like my own arm, they all said that, no, he's a techo, so he was kept aside, or, he was not integrated. Let me assure you that all those days are gone. Today, as a technologist, you stand on your, you have a lot of, you are part of the operational planning setup in the armed forces, and armed forces use technology to such a large extent today that there is complete dependence on technology for a lot of problem solving on multiple fronts, be it operational, be it logistics, be it administrative, a lot of applications of technology. So again, it's one of the best options for you. So I just thought that I'll interact with each one of you here and then give you an overview, and wishing you all the very best, and I'm now open to questions. Half an hour? Okay, are there any questions from anybody here? It can be on any technology domain. Yeah, please. It's a good question actually, because we are used to getting our data through wired connections or at Wi-Fi or WiMAX, whatever it is. We are not used to getting it from the space. Now, definitely when you get your connectivity through space-based platforms today, it has its own challenges in terms of security, but as part of a licensing norm, when the license is issued to Starlink or to any other space-based platform which is there, all these issues will be addressed by the provider, service provider. So to that extent, one doesn't have to worry about security of communications, etc. So it's something which will be inherent part of a licensing process. So these are all addressed right at the beginning only. I hope that answers your questions. If there is no internet, the lat long will be there, because the fact is that if he has to communicate with any other device, he has to go through the licensing conditions which are there. So if he is able to communicate with another entity through space-based assist, it has to follow the certain conditions which are part of licensing. So those issues are addressed per se right from the beginning. So it has to go through some tests, some sort of ecosystem where it can be looked at from a security point of view. So it's inherent in every system today. So all these are, the Department of Telecommunications addresses all these issues. So there is you don't have to worry about security of space-based assets when it's providing communications. In fact, even today the armed forces are using large number of space-based assets. Okay. Are there any more questions, please? Okay. Okay. Yeah. So I mentioned to you, sir, that you need to have a perfect cyber hygiene, sir. So what device do you use? iPhone, sir. Do you have an antivirus package, sir? So these, as a user, we are not even aware of what happens today. So every device you carry is susceptible today. So that's why I say that when I carry a mobile phone, I go with the premise that it can be tampered with, it can be done with anybody, because it has an operating system, it's got a software, it's got multiple applications. There are vulnerabilities in any applications today. So and technology today, like all of them are doing projects, many of them would be doing projects on applications, detecting vulnerabilities today. It's a continuous process. So when you find a vulnerability, there is a patch provided, but then there is a gap between the patch and the vulnerability detection. So that's exploited by the threat actors today. So as a user, you need to be aware of all this. So cybercrime is something which we can actually follow up through a very good system. We have large number of agencies. I'm sure what you hear as a dial tone today, you get a warning. That is to sensitize citizens today. But I mentioned to you, sir, that despite the Prime Minister mentioning about digital arrest, there are still people who actually fall prey to it because of ignorance, because of fear, because of greed. All this happens, sir. So there is, cybercrime is something which we can actually stop if we are aware and we have very good cyber hygiene. So we should be aware of the vulnerabilities. That's where I said, senior citizens are one of the most targeted ones today. So as society, we need to educate them, educate ourselves on the impact of cyber crimes. School children, they should be knowing about it, because many of them are also part of the social media platforms today. So this is a challenge which we face. Can I get that question once again? No, banks have certain onus of responsibility. That's a thing which you could actually look at the sites today. Every bank gives certain, what is their liability when there is a cyber crime. There are judicial interventions also which happen today. So all this is there. The ecosystem protects citizens. But isn't it our responsibility as citizens also to protect ourselves? And I mentioned to you about the ecosystem which we have. Can the government on its own protect 1.3 billion devices with a large number of applications which as user we are not aware of? So I'm not saying that the government has no responsibility. It definitely has. So that's why we have the I4C. We have a critical infrastructure. So I mentioned about ports. There is a National Critical Infrastructure Center which has been established, which is looking at all this. So there is training being imparted to all these sectors. So that's where I said that, a lot of opportunities there for the youngsters today. A lot of opportunities for R&D. So it's a domain full of challenges, so also opportunities, sir. I leave it there, sir. Okay, are there any more questions?
Jain sir, there's always these news about breaches on government data, like leaks of Aadhaar or PAN card. So I just wanted to know what technology is the government using to protect the public data?
Okay, so I'm sure you're aware of the DPDP Act, the Digital Privacy Data Protection Act. So it actually has, it's to come in vogue when the rules get passed, and I'm sure it's going to happen very shortly. So your privacy, your data is something which you need to give a consent today to share with others. Like I mentioned to you that every app collects data. Normally, you only say that, okay, you say agreed or not agreed. When they ask you some questions like this towards the end, I'm sure many of the applications you would have seen it. Definitely. And you just blindly sign agreed, right?
Yeah.
But this is where you as a user need to exercise that caution. So when you sign agreed, it implies that that particular platform is going to host or give this data to somebody else, and you are giving a consent. So there are consent managers. So these are all opportunities which are there. So data of yours, the government has taken a large number of measures to protect this today. But then as citizens, we need to be aware of it. Okay, I'll give you a small example of, have you seen the current IPL? Are you watching cricket?
Yeah, mostly,
Okay.
sir, yeah.
Do you see some RBI advertisements which are coming up?
Yes.
Save your money and mule accounts and all those things. So these are all campaigns which sector regulators are actually doing to sensitize the citizens on the challenges which we are facing. But do we look at it seriously? Tell me very frankly.
Not really, sir.
Okay, that's where I'm saying that we have a challenge ourselves. So as citizens, we need to exercise caution. And many of us, even educated people, are not aware of it. So that's where we need to be. When you are having power of technology in your hands today, I think you need to exercise a little more of caution. That's what I wanted to tell you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Are there any more? Yeah, please.
Good afternoon, sir. My question would be based on technological singularity. So it is basically a hypothetical point in artificial intelligence where the algorithm starts writing algorithm for itself.
Yes.
So the technological growth becomes uncontrollable and it leads to artificial super intelligence which significantly surpasses human cognitive capabilities. So can we say that we are heading towards a catastrophe from where there is no redemption?
I don't, I understood your point. I don't think we have reached that point. But, that's why I said, today there are self-written programs which are there, which are improving by itself through, the Gen AI capabilities, give you solutions. You can actually impose. The algorithms are writing programs on its own today. So all this is happening. But then understand that, its impact on humanity will be based on somebody's trigger. Now, if you can use it either for positive purposes, you can use it for negative purposes. Now, look at any weapon system for that matter today. Look at fire. It's been used for constructive purposes. It's been used for destructive purposes. So how you use it is the way the humanity decides it. So that's why there are a lot of, deliberations today all over the globe on what should be the limit of AI. Should it be ethical, non-ethical? How do you find boundaries between what you mentioned? Will it result in super intelligence? So these are the challenges which humanity as a whole has actually faced today. So I concur with your point, but then the use of it is finally done by us as humans. Now a machine, it has to have, to impact human lives, has to have that interface, which is again human guided. So this is something which we need to be aware of, and there are protection mechanisms which are there from a cyber security perspective, which we can say, okay, if that vulnerability, that particular the threshold is crossed, you cut off that system. So that also is possible technically. So that's where technology has to find an intervention also. So all of us need to work together. That's why I said the changes in technology is actually leapfrogging. So it's a brilliant world. How do we use it? For peaceful purposes? For good of humanity? Or is it being used for wrongful gains? But then we are civilizations. We are part of humankind. All this has happened in the past. So it's all challenges which we'll face. And the youngsters sitting behind will face all this in the future.
But then, sir, what is ethical and what is unethical? Both of these things lie in a very
Yes,
gray
so
area.
how do you decide that, right? And how do you draw a line between this? That's why a lot of discussions are taking place at the global level. Now, I didn't mention about international, cyberspace cannot be confined to sovereign boundaries. Similarly, technology. So what is right here is, you need to decide yourself. So as a country, we need to find out, we need to make laws, legislations to make sure that what is legal, what is illegal. That's something which we need to work on. Okay? All right, are there any more questions? Yeah, please, sir. Yes, I can hear you, sir.
You are a National Cyber Security Coordinator. I just want to know that what is our preparedness to be a quantum safe, apart from launching of a national quantum mission?
Yes, sir.
That is the one aspect government of India has taken. But what is our preparation from the army point of view or from the private telecom and other point of view? This is one question. Second question is like that, why cyber cell complaints should be given to the police people where people are normally afraid to go. And my own experience, whenever I have launched a complaint in the cyber cell, it has never been solved. So how we should be prepared to face this challenge?
All right. Sir, the first question on quantum.
Yeah.
There's a lot of activity going on on quantum domain today, sir. The Quantum National Mission, but we have identified the R&D purpose. Yes, sir. So as a community, we need to understand what all will face a threat when quantum computers come up. This we are identified. Now, each of these sectors, specifically sectors, we'll have to drill down and see that what should be protected first and what should not be, what can be left to this. So there is a lot of work going on these. So as I mentioned to you that the normal way you communicate through a mobile device or do your financial transactions, the encryption algorithms, all of them would come under some sort of threat in future years. So there is a lot of work happening on making them quantum safe. One, we're looking at post-quantum encryption standards. Standards have all been promulgated by some world bodies already. So we are all looking at these issues. And so my personal belief is that by 2030, we should be in a position to have some sort of quantum safe mechanisms in place in our normal day-to-day lives. And depending on that particular importance of that particular sector, we need to put it into the right place. So a lot of work is going on. And let me assure you, sir, that India is also in the forefront of it, sir. So we are part of this ecosystem and we are doing a lot to address this issue. The second point on the capability of the police, I think the challenge is in equipping our police force with the right kind of aptitude and talent. I'm sure you must have heard about the Ministry of Home Affairs program on cyber commandos, cyber warriors, etc. So finally, sir, the aspects related to crime have to be dealt by police only. How do you actually carry out the investigation? How do you carry out evidence gatherings? So you can't create a separate force for it, sir. So it becomes a little, and it is part of, in fact, I think a lot of provisions for the current laws like the BNS, the BNSS and all caters for cyber crimes too. But some of the aspects like what impacts on specific sectors, I had mentioned to you, health sector, etc. I think we are working on, is there a necessity to have a Cyber Security Act? This is something which we are looking at separately, sir. Or strengthen the IT Act. Now, these are some things which we are working on. But I feel that by enabling the police forces to handle cybercrime, by giving them better equipment, capabilities, learning, skilled personnel, and skilling their personnel will solve a lot of problems. That's my understanding, sir. Okay. Are there any more questions, please? Yeah. Deepfakes. Okay.
So what are the technological solutions as well as the policy level what government is trying to have?
Okay. So as a community, we are aware of deepfakes today, impact of it. Now, the challenge from a technology perspective, I just, you're all technology, the best in technology today. Can you find out the original source of the document? You tell me what is, if there is a fake thing, something has to be created by somebody. Is there any way we can trace the root, the first document which has been created? Is there any technology available? So a lot of effort is going on finding that, okay, when you create a document today, like you take a photograph on your mobile phone, can you leave a small little symbol or small little, can there be a small sign to say that this is an original footprint, the original picture taken? So this is the only way we can actually look at deepfakes for a larger ecosystem at the strategic level. Deepfakes detection is possible today to a large extent. I'm sure many of the videos which are roaming around.
The harm that is a person is having to initial level, how we can protect it. Because once it is happened and is circulated, then person is affected with that. And there is no such solution that we can provide.
So that's where I mentioned, sir, that technology today can be used by positive ways and negative ways. And we need to find solutions. There are no solutions which can actually, there are a large number of countries today working on, can we have some sort of initial, cataloging or imprint on a first print which is taken. That can actually solve this problem, and then it has to be a universal law which is there for every device, every ecosystem today. That's something which we can otherwise, I mentioned to you, sir, that even small little technology today can be used for unlawful purposes. So this is a challenge we all face, and this is something which we have no answers to, sir. So deepfakes detection is possible. In fact, so many of you would have found some of the videos having a stamp of it's a fake. So all this is happening today. But it takes time, and immediate impact is something which, if there is a fake video which comes in, it affects all of us. I accept it, sir. And there is no way that, but the only thing is, as an individual, as a citizen, you can educate saying that you can actually, as a citizen, you can say that it's a fake video. You can put a rebuttal, something like that on the same platform. So that's my solution. That's a personal view, sir.
Sir, I think, I'm sorry to break this in between, but we can take these questions during the tea time.
Yeah, one last question, please.
One
okay,
last question,
okay.
please. Okay. Professor Vishwakarma, please take it over during the tea time, your other queries.
Is India is planning for launching any large language model like ChatGPT, Elon Musk Group and all. So India is planning for that in such a
So I'm sure you must have heard the Minister of MeitY, Ministry of Information Technology, Mr. Ashwini Vaishnav had announced this. So there are a large number of measures. In fact, I think we are on the forefront of technology today, sir. So I think as a nation, we should all be proud. Okay, ma'am, I just want to thank each one of you. I hope I could actually give some sense into what I spoke. Thank you very much. It's been a wonderful effort. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the very inspiring and enlightening lecture. And I'm sure, this lecture has been immensely encouraging and helpful for everyone. And those of you who have questions, we can take them up during the tea time, please. I'm so sorry to break this in between. I would now like to request Colonel Nair to kindly facilitate our distinguished dignitaries. Yeah, let's get him. Yeah, please. Yeah, I request Colonel Nair to please felicitate Colonel Dr. Rana, please. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I request you to please deliver the vote of thanks. Kallan Mayor, please.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Thank you for your patience, especially the backbenchers. It's been a long, long and arduous day. We've all been privileged today to hear General Nair speak. It's been a career of over 42 years, and he has donned many hats. And we were fortunate to experience some of those rich experiences that he reiterated today. He gave us a very lucid, explanatory, and interesting lecture which covered more than his journey in the armed forces and in the government, the way the government is now looking at the serious challenge of cybersecurity and associated risks. On behalf of the Vice Chancellor and all of you, I would extend deepest gratitude, sir, for you to extend so much time and coming and talking to us. I would also take this opportunity to thank Commodore Rana, who has been a beacon of light for the DTU fraternity. I also would like to thank the Vice Chancellor. Unfortunately, he could not attend due to prior commitments. The Registrar, all faculty, student volunteers, and members who've been party to this particular event. Thank you all so much, and I wish you all a good evening. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much. Please be seated. As we draw today's session to a close, we hope that this series will continue to foster thought-provoking discussions and will continue to encourage us all. With these words, I invite you all to join for high tea outside the auditorium. And please be seated. Let the dignitaries leave first. Thank you so much. Thank you.